You're listening to the Fox Den Sports Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Todd and his three sons, Kellen, Garrett, and Gannon.
I want to welcome everyone back to the Fox Den Sports Podcast. Welcome to all of our friends, family, and even our foes. I'm here with my son, Kellen, middle son, Kellen, middle son, Garrett. Gannon is in London right now for the next 10 days. And we have the New England Patriots insider, Lance Garrison, as well as the Dallas Cowboys insider, Diego Zavarce, joining us. So this is kind of it's like two worlds colliding when you got Lance and Diego on the same time. You got one guy who is used to winning a lot of Super Bowls, and then you got Diego. So, and I'm with Diego though, unfortunately. But I have seen Dallas win a few, but it's been a while. I think it's before any of you guys were ever born. Well, today marks our 88th episode. It is a great number. It really is. So what player do you think of that wore the jersey number 88?
Marvin Harrison.
He was really good. What's his son? What number does his son play? Or what number is his son? Do you know?
18.
Is he?
Yeah.
I wonder what he'll be in the NFL. What do you say, Gary?
I guess I'll go, even though I'm a Dallas fan, I'll go Tony Gonzalez. I mentioned him last week or earlier this week, but Tony Gonzalez, probably a top 3 tight end all time.
Yeah.
I'll go with a better tight end, Mike Gesicki, future Hall of Famer for the Patriots.
That's crazy.
Lance is the only person that thinks of that guy.
I'm gonna go with CeeDee Lamb, the new number 88 for the Dallas Cowboys, and then I'm gonna also mention Des Bryant, the number 88 before him. Both of those guys, of course, went to one went to Oklahoma State, one went to OU. So I've seen those guys play for a while now. So those two.
Yeah, I mean 88 is the receiver number. It's the Dallas Cowboy number. Michael Irvin, Drew Pearson. Honestly, I think of Drew Pearson more than I even do Michael Irvin. That's who I grew up watching. And another 88 back in the day, Lynn Swann was incredible as well. Was number 88. But it is the equivalent of the number 12 being the quarterback number. 88 is, to me, probably the best between that and 80 of wide receiver numbers. Really good numbers there. But I would go with
Tony Gonzalez in there.
Huh? Well, yeah.
I said then you slap Tony Gonzalez, Greg Olsen.
Yeah, I saw that.
Mike Gesicki, apparently.
Yeah. Demaryius Thomas, John Mackey.
I'm
Riley
sure
Williams.
Teddy Bridgewater next year.
Hey, Keith Jackson from OU. He was number 88 as well. He was really best tight end in OU history, honestly, to be honest with you. All right, before we get into the fantasy football, this is mainly our big fantasy football podcast. I got one OU question real quick. So Brent Venables came out this week and said he's going to be more involved with the defense this year than ever before. And there's been some concern on Twitter and Sports Talk Radio of him being more involved on the defense. And I think, Garrett, we were talking offline. You had a take on what your thoughts were, but what do you guys think about him being more involved with the defense?
I mean, I think it's a must. I will point out, I think when you say ever before, it's just last year and this year. But no, I think it's a must. You have a top 5 defensive coordinator essentially in the country on your staff. And so, I mean, you have to use him. And I don't think it's more so during game day. I think it's more during the week in preparation and getting the guys ready in the right positions and what to expect, again, heading into game day rather than calling a bunch of plays, which I think he still will, but it's not during like key decisions and big third downs and stuff like that or goal line stops. But I don't think it's going to be something we see super often just in, first half in general, maybe. But no, I think it's a must, in my opinion, to get the defense to where we want it to be before he can kind of not necessarily let off the gas on his involvement in the defensive side, but get comfortable with the staff and the players taking control.
Okay. Anyone else have a thought before I share mine?
I agree with Gary. I feel like honestly, I wouldn't mind him taking over during the game. I mean, just don't lose your focus of like the whole game. Like don't just
people are afraid
focus.
of.
Yeah. But like I think he can handle it. I think he can manage that. I kind of want him to see. I want to see him get angry, yell at the defense during the game. Like that's what made him so special at Clemson. And I think we need that. And like Gary said, as soon as he sees that defense start improving and sees that these guys and his staff can handle it, and then he's going to back off and focus more on what he needs to focus on. But I really think he needs to step up and do that this season until a point happens, and then he can just back off from there.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone asked him the question, hey, is that game day or is that during the week? Because during the week, no problem. I think that's what you've got to do. You're one of the best defensive minds out there in college football. We got to remember he did get run out of town whenever he was here the first time. However, I think he showed what he can really do while he was at Clemson and who he could recruit. But having said that, because if he were to worry about just, if he was going to be more worried about the defense on game day, I think that'd be a little bit of a problem. And the examples they kept using, if you guys, I don't know if you guys have even ever seen, but a few years back, Mike Gundy was, he's all about offense. He's over in the sidelines, and they're the guys in the studio doing the game are talking about, hey, because he's over there just over on La La Land, just drawing up plays and looking at plays while his defense is out of the field. And that doesn't make any sense. As a head coach, you got to be out there, you got to be involved. And I think there was a period whenever they needed actually the head coach to make a call, and he was over on the, with his back to the field. So that doesn't make any sense. That's, I think, what the big concern was. But I don't think anybody really had the answer if they were talking about game day or during the week. So either way, I think he needs to be more involved for sure. I think they need to get rid of Ted Roof at some point and get who was the guy you were talking about the other night, Garrett? Get him.
Great question.
The really good recruiter, the guy who got
Todd. Yeah, Todd Bates.
Yeah, Todd Bates. Maybe he gets that defense coordinator position. But all right, enough about OU. We're going to talk some fantasy football, and we are all of us are in a dynasty league, a keeper league with, I know Gannon's in there, and then we got Chris Freeman, Thomas Nelson, a couple of guys I went to high school with, Chris Freeman's brother-in-law. Who am I missing? Oh, Grady. Yeah, Grady's the other one. So let's talk real quick. We're not really talking about the dynasty league. We're just going to talk about normal fantasy football. Number one pick. Who and why? Who would you pick like as the number one? I know a lot of it probably does have something to do with how the point system works and all that. I get it. But who are you looking at? Those top players of the top player if you had the first pick. First off, let me ask you this. Let's just say this is a normal, like a 10-team league. 10 to 12, just say that. Do you want the first pick if it's a snake draft? You get the guy you really want, but then you don't get another pick again until, whatever that is, 15 or what is that, 18, 19 picks later, 20 picks later. What are your all thoughts on that?
Give me like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Okay.
6 at the earliest.
Yeah, I like 6, 4, 5, or I like 5 or 6, honestly.
Also, give me 10, 11, 12. I like the end picks of the round. I like getting to pick back to back.
I like the end, but I don't like then having to wait still then from 2 to 3 waiting that many. But I agree with the end of round 1, beginning of round 2 is some great picks there. I just hate waiting still 15 to 20 picks till my next one.
I just feel like at the end of the round you can get those 2 guys that could end top 5 in their position right there. And if you nail those two, then you're already set. You're set for a good season right there. But no injuries, of course. But
Yeah, I mean, what the top 5 picks were always like traditionally used on the workhorse running backs, and that just doesn't really exist anymore. So there's just
You're
no
right.
gap and no benefit to drafting that high anymore.
I agree 100%. 100%. So who would be your number one pick if you had the number one pick? I mean, who are you looking at? Who would you encourage our listeners, I don't know, last I checked, 2,500 listeners?
that's a lot of listeners.
There's a lot of listeners.
You know, I would
Just
say
keep
as the
moving up.
2-time defending champion of our league, which doesn't really matter because we're not talking about keepers, but I'd probably still take Justin Jefferson 1 either way.
Really?
PPR,
Okay.
not PPR, half PPR. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know who could compete with him for number 1.
I mean, you could maybe Chase, but like
that's why I want number 2. So I don't got to decide.
Yeah, like I don't want to just have somebody else pick for me. I'll take the
I'll be happy with either one, but I'm not happy with where I have to pick.
But like Lance said, I just don't think running backs there's not. You can get a good running back in the late second or at least second, or you can get a good running back in the 4th and 5th, and they'll still do the same job. As long as you get that good receiver, I feel like you're off to a good start.
I think there is only a handful of exceptions to that. And I think that would be, if it's me and I'm in 1, obviously nobody wants to be there. I'm probably taking Austin Eckler in 1. What he does in the ground game and receiving game combined makes him, in my opinion, the best back in fantasy right now. But I think you have to look at probably backs with receiving talent or the top end receivers, like you said. I don't think you go wrong either way, but I think you've just got to weigh whether or not you think Jefferson will stay on his dominance or whether or not you think Eckler will stay on his dominance.
Especially in like a PPR, Austin Eckler's clutch.
What about if McCaffrey were to stay healthy?
Really quick, I personally go Jamar. Reason being is because I think the skill level between Jamar and Justin Jefferson is very minute. I do not think it's very big. Personally, I think Jamar is a more talented receiver, but that's my personal opinion. I trust Joe Burrow a lot more than Kirk Cousins. I trust the offense in Cincinnati a lot more than Minnesota. Yes, they do have much more talent to spread the ball around, but we've seen Jamar produce 2 years now with that talent on the team, whereas Minnesota, now they have TJ Hawkinson and Jordan Addison to toss the ball to. So that's going to take a lot of Jefferson's, targets alone. And yes, the defense is going to have to account for them, but I think we're going to see a change in that offense to where I said this on a podcast a while ago, like their offense is designed to get Jefferson the ball as many times as they can. And I don't think it's going to be the same way again anymore. And I think we're going to see a dip in his production. I don't think he's going to finish top 5 this year in receivers.
Who, Jefferson?
Really? So I'm taking Jamar mainly because of his surroundings and quarterback. I trust.
Who else?
100 times more.
Who else does Minnesota have? Because the Dalvin Cook's not there anymore. Who else who do they have? Was it TJ Hawkinson?
Yeah, just TJ Hawkinson and Jordan Addison, USC receiver, is going to be in the slot taking a lot of targets.
I think because Joe Burrow is a better quarterback and a smarter quarterback, he's better at spreading that ball out. I don't see. Maybe Justin Jefferson will lose a couple targets. Their game plan's still going to be getting him the ball. They still got Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is not going to be able to spread the ball out because he's not that smart. Not as smart as Joe Burrow. He's going to be forcing the ball to Jefferson. I agree. I think the difference between Jamar and Justin Jefferson is a lot less than what people think. But I think that Joe Burrow is going to be better at spreading the ball out. But
that's the reason, though, is that we've seen Joe Burrow spread that ball out and Jamar still produce at a very, very high level, but we have not seen Kirk do it with these talents.
I mean, but he still had like Thielen and all them and Dalvin Cook, and I know, but he was getting old.
Dalvin barely played, and Thielen. I think Jordan Addison's better than Thielen, and you toss Hawkinson, and we've said Madison's just as good as Dalvin when he plays. So,
do you think that'll hold true though, or how much do you think of that as the Vikings O-line, like a Le'Veon Bell, James Conner situation, where we thought he was just as good, but then when he really got the job, we realized, oh wait, anyone can run behind this offensive line. Personally, I just think that the reps that Dalvin Cook will take away, I don't see Addison getting more balls than what's Dalvin Cook is vacating. So I don't see Jefferson dropping.
I think the answer is that we can't go wrong with either of the two.
Who was it? Do you guys remember who everybody wanted last year?
McCaffrey.
I feel like people were still saying
Jonathan
McCaffrey.
Taylor. I thought a lot of people wanted Jonathan Taylor really high last year.
I think a lot of people last year. I think this is the first year in a while that people are like, forget the running backs.
Yeah, I
let's
agree.
look at
I
the
agree. Yeah,
receivers.
yeah.
Like really like forget them. Let's look at the receivers this time.
And not to throw shade, but I think anyone drafting Justin Jefferson 1 last year is a very casual fantasy person. Just because if you look at his number 1 season, ranked among like the last 10, he ranks like 9th out of the running back ones of the past 10 running back ones. So he didn't have that good of a season. He just had the best season out of anyone, but it wasn't a phenomenal year.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: where do you draft a quarterback? Because the difference in our league is we've already got like a lot of our keepers and everything already attached. But in a normal league, where do you take that quarterback?
Like a normal league, just one quarterback starting.
Yeah, if a normal league with the one, like it's not a keeper or anything like that. Where would you try to land a quarterback in your thoughts?
I mean, my personal opinion, I like waiting for the quarterback. I mean, last year I took Jalen Hurts in the 5th round. Jalen Hurts is going like in the 2nd round this year, early 3rd. Like, I'm not going to take him there. Like, I feel like I can get receiver, running back, or running back, receiver. Like, I feel like I can get skill guys and build them up. And then I can wait till like the 7th, 8th round, and hopefully somebody like Tua or Dak or Kirk or somebody like that who I know they're going to just get me 15 to 20 points every week. And then I have all these skill guys that are going to go off. Like, I feel like that can carry me to a fantasy championship win instead of going like Patrick Mahomes in the late 1st, early 2nd, and then wasting that quarterback pick early. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, if you had a Mahomes or like Jalen Hurts, if you don't get one of those guys, I feel like everybody else, I shouldn't say everybody else, but there's probably about 8 to 10 quarterbacks then are pretty even from a point total. If you can't land one of those other guys, but I've never been fan of getting a quarterback early. I like to try to get these other positions because I think that I can get the same production, not from the top 2 or 3 guys, but I can from like, 4 through 10, 4 through 12, something like that. If that makes any sense.
I mean, it just depends on where I'm picking. If I'm late 3rd, early 4th, and somehow, depending on the league, somehow like a top 3 quarterback still there, then I'm going to snag them. But that's if nobody But if somebody panics in the early 3rd and picks him, top 5 quarterbacks are gone. I'm waiting until 6 or 7 to grab a quarterback.
Then they start going.
If the top 3 to 5 quarterbacks are gone, I'm not sweating it. I'll just take somebody later and get a better role player.
Exactly. People start getting nervous.
Exactly. Sure. Once somebody picks Mahomes, everybody picks a quarterback.
It's like Allen, Hurts,
for instance,
Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence is like a 10th ranked quarterback. Like,
I can't believe, and I think
I'll easily take him. And
Rodgers might be like 11 or something, honestly.
Yeah.
Rodgers
he's not
low.
dropping.
He's like mid.
Yeah.
He's like a teen. Yeah.
But it's like there's some good quarterbacks down there later if you don't get one of those top 3 or 4.
I'm looking at one right now that has Aaron Rodgers ranked 16th.
That's what I'm saying. And I think we're going to see a decent year from him. So I'm fine taking him late.
Yeah. Even if he was your backup.
I had a friend yesterday. He took his quarterbacks in the 6th and 7th, got Trevor Lawrence and Rodgers.
Wow. So moving to another one, what's more valuable, a running back duo in fantasy? And when I mean duo, not on the same team, but I'm talking, or a triplet, like trio of wide receivers. What's more important to you? Or does it depend on the if it's point per reception, which I think most leagues are now?
I mean, it always depends on PPR, but it depends with that. It depends on the running back. You need a running back that catches. Like if you get 2 running backs that get a lot of catches, I think that's more important because all receivers are going to get catches. But if you don't have running backs that are going to catch balls, then I want the wide receiver trio, I would say.
Okay.
I think the duo is more important because you look at the top, even just 10 running backs, like they're guys who are going to be on the field probably 75% of the time. And, might not none of them, not all of them will be receiving backs, but like I said, they'll still be on the field at least having the chance to make a play. Whereas you look after that, like you're pretty much picking backups or, a running back by committee kind of thing where they're on the field maybe 50% of the time. And whereas receivers, you can go as far down as like receiver number 60 or 70, and that's going to be a third string receiver who's going to be on the field probably 70% of the time and still have a chance to get a target. Like I think the running back duo, whereas, receivers like Chase and Jefferson are in contention for that number 1 pick. I think if you're able to solidify and get those 2 running backs to not have to worry about tossing another person in there for 15, 16 weeks, I think you're set.
Sure. No, I totally agree. It's changed. There used to be, when I first started doing fantasy league years ago, there was, you had the bell cow who had the majority of the runs and opportunities. Then you started getting these guys that would drive me nuts. These little, because remember how when we play, my running back would get it all the way down to the 1 or 2 yard line, and then all of a sudden, like a Danny Woodhead or somebody would catch, 12 passes. Darren Sproles for 40, 50 yards, but they catch a ton of passes, or they'd run the football in. That's what drove me nuts, were those kind of guys. So it's all changed. But what about some favorite rookies this year? Or what are some rookies you're kind of got your eye on? The thing is, in our keeper league, I can tell you now, Diego may not like it, but it's going from the worst to first this year. Starting
Who was worse last year? Was it Lance or me? We were both competing for worst.
I think it was Thomas Fujikawa.
I don't know who it was.
Me and Lance were terrible last year.
I got the first pick somehow after getting in like top 4. So I don't, and then I got Hurts, and now I'm set. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm going to take one more year for Caleb Williams.
What I have an idea, but the guy, I think I've got the 4th pick, but this guy's not going to be there whenever it's time for me to pick. But who do you like from fantasy rookies? Who are you looking? Who gets an eye on? Who you got?
I hate this question because I'm just not going to get anybody I want picking last in our draft.
Well, plus you kept like 7 guys, so then we get more picks before you. Do you see what I'm saying? Like the more
you miss 7 rounds instead of 5.
Right.
I kept the bare minimum.
Right. If you keep 5,
I was like, do I keep Jimmy G or Andy Dalton?
Correct. But if you keep 7, then while we're picking more, Diego's got to wait around. He's got to wait another round, and then.
Wait, so you're telling me if I keep 5, I don't have to wait as much?
Right. But you did win.
I can cut that.
But,
right?
But then you remember you did win the last 2 years. So.
Hey, but that's what I thought when I won with Kamara, Matt Stafford, Kittle, and then look at me now.
And he did win
franchise.
But I don't have those type of guys.
He won with
I didn't either. I sat there watching Kamara score 6 touchdowns in the Super Bowl for me, and I was like, all right, I'm set for life.
If I win without Josh Allen,
when was that, Kellen? Was that 2 or 3 years ago? 3 years ago?
What, Diego?
Yeah,
you won back to back.
Yeah.
I won 2.
It was 3 years ago.
Because
I was in Oklahoma for Christmas. We were eating some hibachi.
Yeah.
You guys were all having a great time, and I was just watching the TV, just Kamara one after another.
Sure.
I don't remember who I was playing, but just destroyed them.
I gotcha. Okay.
It wasn't even fair.
All right. Who are you looking at? Who's the top rookie in your board if you're picking?
I would say Jamar Gibbs.
Okay, whether it's a keeper league or not.
Jamar Gibbs, for sure.
If it's a keeper, I'd be looking for potentially Anthony Richardson. Also just hoping he turns into something. But a non-keeper, I might be going Zay Flowers.
That's a good one. I thought about him too. Or Jordan Addison. I think he's also really good.
Yeah.
Lance, who you got, Lance?
I mean, I think obviously if Bijan's there, you're probably taking Bijan. But then I think if he's not, maybe a Jackson Smith and Jigba.
How early are you taking Bijan? Because I can't see myself picking him in round 1 like a lot of people are.
No, but taking him in round 1, like in the normal with everybody, no.
But he's ranked 8th.
No.
Well,
there's too much competition in that room. Like he's still got Patterson and Algier to go through.
I know, but it's just so weird that ESPN has him number 8. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't pick him in the first round. I made that mistake with Trent Richardson. I had like the 4th pick and picked Trent Richardson.
I'm gonna have to go Deuce Vaughn. I think the Cowboys are getting away from running back 1, and Deuce Vaughn's going to easily be getting just as many touches as Tony Pollard by the end of the year. And
well, I hope you're right, because I have him in like all my fantasy leagues right now.
Yeah, so I think he's going to be a really good RB 2 or 3 by the end of the year. And then I'm gonna butcher this name. Is it Devin Akane, Miami?
It's Devon.
Yeah, it was mainly the last name I was worried about, but that guy. By the end of he's got an injury, but so does everyone else on their running back team. And he'll probably be back week 1, maybe week 2. And everything you're hearing out of camp is he's probably one of the fastest guys in the league. So now they got him, Tyreek, and Jalen Waddle. But that's all that team's really been missing is a solid running back. And that's going to take a lot of pressure off of Tua. So I think they're going to abuse him when they get him back.
I mean, it would be hard to not take Bijan, but the thing is, like, he would be my top rookie I would look at, but I wouldn't take him in the first round. I would take him second if he's there, depending on where I'm at. I think he's gonna be a workhorse for him. I think they're gonna run him 300 times if they can. I think he's gonna catch balls out of the backfield. I think he's one of the better running backs, honestly, that's gonna come into the league. But I wouldn't pick him in the first round. For a keeper league, I might think about it. But I think he'll be one of the first ones off the board in our keeper league. I really do. I think I wouldn't be surprised if
I would say because
takes him.
Because the team's like, if you have a team that can compete this year, I might not snag him this year as a keeper. But like for us teams that are like, we need some time to build because of what our teams have become, he'd be a good pick because later down the line, it's more of an investment. But I don't think he's going to be like turn you around in 1 year on fantasy.
No, I don't either.
But I do think Jamar Gibbs can turn you around.
Who do they have? So they also have Montgomery, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Gibbs he's basically a receiver.
Okay.
He's basically a receiver.
Where did he play college ball?
Alabama.
And then Georgia Tech. He played at Bama for 1 year.
Yeah.
Did he?
He's also going like the 3rd round.
And
I'd take him in the 3rd round over taking Bijan in the 1st.
I think that Jackson Smith and how do you say it, Njigba? Njigba?
Yeah.
I think he's a really big pick for the Seattle Seahawks. Take some pressure off of Metcalf, but I think he's probably better than Metcalf, to be honest with you. Addison, that'll be interesting to see how they use him. If they'll take some stuff, throws away from Jefferson. You know, Thielen's not there anymore. He's in Carolina, so they obviously have somebody take that. The 3 quarterbacks, Richardson, CJ Stroud, and Bryce Young. Who would you go with? Like if you had to pick one of those, let's say you had to take a quarterback as a rookie, which one of those would you want more than the other?
Stroud.
Really? Okay.
Richardson.
Yeah, I want Richardson.
Bryce Young, knowing that you're getting no production from him for the next 2 years until they fix the O-line.
Yeah. It's interesting. We got 3 different people, 3 different picks. Kellen, what about you?
Richardson.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud's going to be hurt this year. Richardson is just, I don't even know. I want to say the second coming of a player, but we've never seen anything like it. So it's like
dude is built for this.
He's like a Tim Tebow kind of.
Yeah, he could play any position. You might see him play a little running back, a little receiver, a little tight end, a little linebacker. Like he's just built different.
So you're saying he's Taysom Hill?
Ooh,
but better.
Now he's going to be, like we've said before, he's either going to be a star or he's going to be out of the league in 3 or 4 years, if you're asking me. Who are you staying away from? Anybody you're staying away from, rookie-wise, or just any player? Any player, basically? Anybody you want to stay away from? Let me ask you guys this real quick, because that's kind of goes in along the topic. Have you had, obviously you've had players who you draft pretty high and then they get knocked out for, basically either several weeks of the year. Me personally, I try not to take them again. I don't know if anybody else is like that or not, but I don't like taking them. Who are you staying away from?
I'm staying away from anybody on the Titans.
Really?
Unless I can get Hopkins like late, maybe, but I'm not grabbing anybody off the Titans.
What about Derrick Henry?
He's washed. Titans are about to be done. They might be third in the division.
Not to mention their first string O-line played against our second and third string defense for like an entire half in a preseason game and got demolished the entire game. So not high hopes for the O-line.
There's only so much Derrick Henry can do in a situation like that.
I'm staying away from Christian McCaffrey.
Okay. Injuries?
Because not even that, just whenever Elijah Mitchell was playing last year, Christian McCaffrey's production went down 50%. And now Elijah Mitchell's back and healthy, and they're going to want to use him just as much because he's very talented. He had a very, very good rookie year. And then another one I'm staying away from is Bijan Robinson. I think he's a bust, and I think he's at least 3 years before producing really anything.
No shot.
Because the offensive line's arguably the worst in the NFL, arguably has the worst quarterback in the NFL, arguably has the worst head coach in the NFL. Defense is not great. Has a pretty tough division on defenses.
Our defense is pretty good.
They got about 2 players on that defense.
We watched them tear the Panthers up.
Oh, yeah.
Gary just hates him because you wear a Texas jersey.
No, I just think he's overhyped. Like we've seen these players like him a lot. Like, in my opinion, I think Saquon's a buzz for what everyone expected out of him.
But I think
Zeke's
Bijan,
a buzz out of what everyone expected out of him as well.
I think it'd be more likely that Bijan comes out and just goes insane this year and then falls off next year.
I can see that.
I'm not saying he'll even have a 4.0 average, but I'm thinking he's carrying the ball 300 plus times and he's going to catch 60 to 70 balls out of the backfield. I think he's going to score double digits in the touchdown range. Because who else do they have?
I mean, somebody, I think it was you that just mentioned it earlier, or maybe it was Lance, Cordero Patterson and Algier.
Yeah, but they've said they're gonna work Bijan.
Bijan started out third on the depth chart.
They're going to work
preseason. They're not going to work him in the preseason. Right. They're going to put him in game one and just.
I don't know.
They want him to work hard in practice too. Earn his spot. They know what he's doing.
What other weapons do they have? Kyle Pitts has been. Do you think, in your opinion, has Kyle Pitts been a disappointment?
Yes.
1,000%.
Yeah.
That's the question.
I will say, is he a disappointment because he has nobody to throw to him?
Yeah.
True. No, I agree. No, you're right.
You're like next year with Caleb Williams.
Yeah. No,
I'm
you're
taking
exactly
him one.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't disagree with that at all.
And Drake London.
He just hasn't had Marcus Mariota and then what is it, Ritter? Matt Ryan. I mean, whatever. I mean, these guys are not at the top of their game, unfortunately.
Somebody that I try to stay away from is Najee Harris.
Okay.
I drafted him with my number one pick not the number one pick, but my first round pick
running back
4. And I thought he was going to be a workhorse. Injuries, the Steelers O-line, and honestly, Jaylen Warren is a pretty good running back. He's his backup, and they started splitting reps halfway through the season last year, and he's going to get a lot of touches this year. Unless Najee falls to like 5th, 6th, 7th round,
sure,
I would take him. But as your number one running back on your team, no, don't even do it.
2 guys that concern me. Go ahead, Lance. You got something? What do you got?
I was just gonna say I agree with Gary on Christian McCaffrey. I definitely would stay away from him in the first couple rounds. I just want to ask Gary, at what point do you consider taking him if he's dropping on the board? Like, what's your earliest you would take him?
So yeah, I mean, say I have like the 3rd pick and he's there again. Not 3rd pick. Say I have like pick number 6, and he's there for, what would that be, like 14 in a 10-man? Like, I would highly, highly consider it there. Because I think he is top 5 in most of the rankings, but I'm not picking him top 5, and I'm not picking him probably at 9 or 10. But if he's there on my second pick, mid to late second round, 100%. But
a couple guys that concern me: Devontae Adams. I think his production's gone way down. Anxious to see how Jimmy G does if they have some sort of a connection. Jonathan Taylor is going to miss at least the first 4 weeks for sure. Then he's going to come back. Their offensive line isn't the greatest, and I think the new quarterback was Richardson. What's his name? Anthony Richardson, right? That's what I keep getting everybody mixed up. He's going to be a dual threat regardless. I don't think he's going to give 100% when he's even out there. I wouldn't be surprised to see the guy get, miss several games. Those are two guys that concern me. And Taylor is a guy that I was like, oh my goodness, I wanted that guy last year. Glad I didn't get him. Of course, wouldn't help me anyway because I stunk. But anyway, anybody else? Any other players?
Jonathan Taylor thing. I don't even think we have a guarantee that when he comes back from the 4-game deal that he will play.
True.
I'd be nervous just with the drama because of all that. Like, if earliest I'd want to take him is like 3rd personally.
I will say, I think by week 4 or 5, it's unfortunate, but we'll see a running back go down early for probably a contending team, and so they'll up their draft offer or trade offer to Indianapolis, and Indianapolis knows he's not coming back even after the season. So, I mean, it would make no sense for them to reject a trade after that if they do get like a 2nd-round pick offer.
Well, that kind of goes into my second question then. Or not second question. My next question is a sleeper pick, and mine one of them, there's a few, but one to me is a guy that's not even on a team yet, is Kareem Hunt, hypothetically, because to your point, somebody's going to get hurt. It's inevitable. Somebody's going to get hurt. Would they sign him to to just the 1-year deal? Would he even sign? I don't know the answer to that. He obviously wants to play. He's got a little bit of tread left on the tires, maybe not much, but if it was a condensed season, perhaps that's one of the guys that'd be a sleeper for me. Any other sleepers that you can think of?
One of mine that I've been picking a lot in my leagues is Jahan Dotson, wide receiver for the Washington Commanders. I like picking 2nd-year receivers because usually one of them is going to hit and have a breakout year. And he's somebody that he hurt his hamstring last year, but he did have 7 touchdowns in I think the 11 or 12 games that he did play, and over like 700 receiving yards. I think even though they don't have they're questionable at quarterback, I mean, Terry McLaurin is injured with turf toe, whatever, but he's still going to play. But I don't know. I'm just a big fan of 2nd-year receivers, and he's a really good receiver. They took him 16th overall in the 1st round. There's a reason why they took him. They're going to have to use him. So I believe he's going to be a sleeper. He's going like 7th, 8th, 9th round. In most of my leagues, he's my 3rd receiver. So playing flex or just being on the bench, having someone like that who could break out and finish, let's say, top 20 in the receivers rankings, that's pretty good. So that's somebody I've been looking at.
I don't really like doing my sleepers because, we haven't really had a draft yet, but I'm looking at Jamison Williams. Somebody in my pick draft got him 3rd to last pick, and he's out a few weeks.
That's what I was going to say. I think it's 4 weeks, something like
6.
that. Or I think
it's 6, but either way, he could be insane when he comes back.
Has anybody got Calvin Ridley?
I don't think that's a sleeper anymore.
No, I don't either, but I'm just
He's in Jacksonville.
Huh?
He's in Jacksonville. Is that what you're asking?
Does anybody in our keeper league?
Well, we've been talking about not keeper league, so I don't know.
No, I know, but I'm just sitting there wondering with that because I've got, I think, the 4th pick. So you guys that are ahead of me, I don't remember who's ahead of me. I know it's food.
Nobody has
Got
him.
to be me and Lance.
He's a free agent.
So he's a free agent. And that's why I had to freeze everything because otherwise people are going to go out there and try to pick up free agents and you can't.
I thought I saw people doing that. I was panicking.
No. Yeah. No. Let me ask you this. Speaking of fantasy football, would you take anybody on the Cardinals?
Really quick, me and Lance still need to do our sleepers.
Well, you didn't jump in there, man. How am I supposed to know? This thing's going on for like 3 hours, so I have no idea. Anyway, go.
I've got 3 for you.
Oh, let's hear.
One, Michael Thomas. He's back. He's healthy. Has his best quarterback since easily Drew Brees. And honestly, even Drew Brees' the last couple of years, Derek Carr might be the same, if not better. And he's got, Chris Olave on the other side. So that's going to help, target wise and getting some of that defensive pressure off of him. I think he's still a big body in the red zone. I think he's going to get a lot of targets. And I think you can get him probably around 15, 16, maybe even later. And then I have Chuba Hubbard, Carolina running back, backup running back, mainly because Miles Sanders has such an issue with staying healthy. And I think they're going to use him so much early on. He's going to get dinged up. And then we've seen Chuba play pretty decent whenever he filled in for McCaffrey. And lastly, I have Irv Smith Jr., Cincinnati's new starting tight end. He was at Minnesota. He had a lot of upside, but he just couldn't get over injuries. And now they have TJ Hawkinson. So he went to Cincinnati, starting guy over there, super athletic. And I think they're going to use him quite a bit because Joe Burrow's always used as tight end. It's just been a new tight end almost every single year. So
I've got 3 as well. The first one isn't really a sleeper, but I think has become a sleeper. Have you noticed how in fantasy just about nobody's talking about Nick Chubb anymore? Although Kareem Hunt's now off the team and his backup is Ford, some guy nobody's ever heard of. I think he's falling probably deeper in the first round than he should. I think he should probably be around a top 5 pick because he can receive. He's not the best receiving back, but he's possibly a top 3 running back in the league this year, in my opinion. I think Quentin Johnson on the Chargers. I think the Chargers have a pretty good team. And I think Herbert having another option for when Mike Williams inevitably gets hurt will be good. He looked insane at TCU. He was a first-round wide receiver. I'm pretty high on him. Then a real big sleeper that probably not a lot of non-Patriots fans know about. I'm going to say Demario Pop Douglas, 6-round receiver out of Liberty. By the time the first preseason game came around, he only played 2 snaps because he was that sure that we were going to roster lock him. There's a good chance he's our starting slot wide receiver, and I think he could end up giving you some big points down the stretch. Maybe not early, but down the stretch.
Very interesting.
what was his name again?
Demario Pop Douglas.
Never heard of him. But that's a New England Patriot guy right there. A guy you don't hear of, and the next thing you know, he's Julian Edelman or
you know how we are with guys in the slot.
Yeah, for sure. So that goes back to a question I asked a few minutes ago. Would you touch anybody on the Arizona Cardinals?
Nope.
I mean, who do they have? Is this the first time a team will never have anybody picked unless it's like a kicker or punter?
James Conner will get picked. He's still like for some reason, like a top 15 running back on ESPN.
That's weird.
Mainly because they don't have anyone else.
Too. Who?
Hollywood Brown.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, if you
bench, but yeah, he'll be a late pick, especially because he doesn't have a quarterback, and his offseason videos of him getting locked up by like people's second and third stringers is not a good sign.
But besides those two, there ain't nobody else.
Another OU guy. Fantastic. How do you feel about the last week of the regular season not being, like the fantasy football is already over? Because most leagues will do the Super Bowl the week before because all these other players are sitting out. What are your thoughts on that? Does it bother you? Nothing, can't really control it or whatever? Or how do you feel?
Doesn't bother me, especially because all the Cowboys starters will be resting that game because they'll have the division locked up by then. So it doesn't bother me at all.
I hope you're right.
Have the division locked up, or they'll be locked up in a penitentiary somewhere?
You heard me.
We'll see, man. I hope, but it's just the way we've done it. I've done it before both ways, and it's nothing worse. And you're in the Super Bowl, and these guys that got you there aren't playing that final week. So that's why I've seen some leagues where they add both of them together, like for the final week. So like week 17 and 18 would be would combine. And I didn't know that one year. I was leading. I was like, woohoo, I won, because it was another guy's league at Bass Pro Shops when I worked there. And then he was like, oh, that's just the first half. I mean, getting the second half next week, and I got trounced. So no thoughts on that, huh? Not really.
I mean, I
Yeah,
think it's obvious
like
everyone prefers it.
Sure.
That's why everyone does it.
If the week 18 matters to you, that means you're in the Super Bowl, and that means
True.
probably you got good players, and that means if you got good players, they're probably resting because they're on a solid team. Like,
Right.
yeah, there's no
That's
no
true.
reason. Week 17 sometimes pushing it.
Okay.
Plus,
What
like
other-
week 18 is such a playoff push and seed push. You want to be able to root for the teams you want to root for
Yeah.
in the NFL and not
Yeah.
have bias for, your players that are playing.
Okay. Let's talk about that real quick. Lance, Patriots fan. We got me and Diego and Garrett are Cowboy fans. You got Kellen, a Colts fan. You're playing against a Cowboy or a Patriot. How does that feel? And it's tugging at you a little bit because it's a close game. It's a Monday night game and it's close, and you like, hey, just don't throw it to him. You can do anything, but don't throw it to that guy, or don't get, walk me through that. How does that make you feel? And it's and you really needing that fantasy game. Who are you wanting to win the fantasy game, or are you more for your player? What
Depends on my ranking. Depends on who I'm
Yeah.
playing. If I'm playing Gary, I'm like, all right, I couldn't care less about NFL. If I'm playing Diego, it's like, okay, hey, I
Yeah,
kind of
give
like
me
this
that
guy.
win.
Like,
Come
hey,
on.
if I'd rather the Colts win and give Diego a little pick me up. But yeah, it just depends on who I'm playing. Depends. Hey, does this loss knock me out of the playoffs, or am I
Yeah.
or does this loss knock me out of first place? But if I'm in the middle of the pack, let's go Colts.
Oh,
I think it depends on like my record and where I am. But honestly, at the end of the day, I'd prefer the Cowboys just to get the win.
yeah, I agree.
I'll sacrifice my fantasy team for the Cowboys to get another win.
Yeah.
But also think about it this way: the Cowboys winning has nothing to do with you. Your
Right.
fantasy you can brag about. You can't brag about the Cowboys winning because you helped in no way. You bought a
Right.
jersey,
Yeah,
so you paid a fraction of a percent for some dudes, for some backup
Yeah.
dudes. Like his
Yeah,
head.
but then I can also brag when they win, though.
Yeah, but then you say, you brag to me, and I say, okay, well, how did you help the Cowboys win? What did you do? Why does that make you better than me?
I
He's
got on
bought
the
like
Fox.
4
I got on.
jerseys who's paid Dak's contract. And
I got on Fox 10 Sports and said they'd go 13-4.
Yeah, that's why we don't have any
Yeah.
listeners this week.
Way to go. Well, like this guy's back on. Okay, let's see what he's got to say. He's the Skip Bayless of the show.
I have to say a take this week because last week I said Jordy Nelson made Aaron Rodgers, so I got to say something this week.
Yeah, there you go.
Cook something up real quick.
I can remember back it was either 93, 94, maybe 95, right around that time frame. Clay, my brother-in-law, he had Emmitt Smith in the Monday night. I had Barry Sanders on Monday night, and we were going neck and neck, and like whoever won that battle was going to win the fantasy game. And Clay and I are probably like, it's like OU Texas when we play each other. And I'm like, it's killing me, but I'm like, I got to have the Cowboys win. Of course, they lost in I think it was overtime. I'm not 100% sure, but Detroit beat him. It was a fantastic game, Smith against Barry Sanders. I loved it.
Did you win fantasy or did you lose both?
I lost both. So it's a double whammy. You're like, oh, it hurt. It hurt bad. But it happens, right? And unfortunately happens. What other fantasy questions do you have that you think some of our listeners may enjoy? Anything you can think of right now?
How do you guys feel about the stack and going for stacks?
A sack going for
Stack.
Stack.
So like Mahomes, Kelsey, Burrow, Chase.
I love it.
I
Depending on who
will
it is.
I will reach for a quarterback if I got like a good receiver. to get that stack. Personally, I love it.
Oh yeah, if I have Jamar 1, I'm going Burrow 3. Or I'll pick a third string receiver that probably shouldn't be picked because I have the quarterback.
Just in case. Yeah,
I agree with Gary.
I've taken Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley this year. I think that's going to be a great stack.
I love him as well. I love him. I love
points.
What I call the Monday night comeback. Like you're down and then you roll and like you're staying up late. Like you're like, oh my goodness, I got to stay up late and see if I win this thing. Like it really matters in the real world, but you're sacrificing sleep, thinking that you're the one that's just edging that player on. That's so fun.
You got to be careful though who it is. You don't want to pull a GM of the year Gary and go, let me get Zeke, Dak, who was it, Amari Cooper, and you're thinking you're on top of the world. Dak's throwing 400 yards a game. You're 6-0. Dak gets hurt. You don't win another game for the rest of the season.
That was cooking for 6 weeks. Though.
Oh, you were like,
because that's when Dak was averaging like 400 yards.
That's before he got hurt?
Your points, you were undefeated, but your points were just insane. And then Andy Dalton comes in, and I literally think you win like maybe 1 or 2 games left.
Oh no, you're right.
You drop from first out of the playoffs.
I was so
careful who.
I was so much better at fantasy football when you guys were younger because you guys didn't know anything. But then when you guys got older, it's a little bit more difficult.
I recall making the Super Bowl in my first year. I don't know what you're talking about.
Did you win?
Gannon.
I think you lost though, didn't you?
Yeah, because we didn't have a trade deadline, and he got Jamal Charles week before the Super Bowl.
How early should the trade deadline be? When should that say? When should you lock that down?
Playoffs. Week 12.
Really?
Whatever the settings at. Good by me. It doesn't matter.
Whatever ESPN recommends. Nothing at all. Because when I'm cooking all
that's
season,
what I mean.
When I'm cooking all season, and then somebody trades Gannon Jamal Charles the week before the Super Bowl because he's cute, and then I lose because Gannon got the best running back in the league.
But it was cute.
Some dude that was last place. That's what Chad said. He said he traded it because he was cute. I was cooking with Peyton Manning and Wes Welker that year.
Yeah, that was a game that first Monday night game. Peyton Manning had like 6 or 7 touchdowns.
It was Thursday night. First game of the season.
Is that what it was, Thursday night?
And I put up like over 100 points. Peyton Manning throws 7 touchdowns, 3 of them to Wes Welker. I had the highest score of the season. Gannon had I was playing Gannon that game too. Gannon had the second highest score of the season. I think I put up 288 points or something. I
don't know if anybody's ever beat that number. So
many points.
I really don't know if anybody.
Peyton Manning threw 7 and 3 of them.
If you go back and look at the records, I don't know if anybody's ever beaten that.
I think
week that they
had. I gotten close, maybe like 260.
But also our scoring was different. Like, because
true.
Like we didn't have punters and head coaches, so that gives you a little advantage in our league, you know.
I love drafting.
Gives you an extra 3 points.
I'm drafting Mike McCarthy.
Here's what I like. I like anytime the ball snap, whether it's defense, offense, punt return, whatever. Somebody has the possibility of getting some points. That's why I like the punters.
I want to hear everybody's take here. What are your opinions on Scott Hansen?
Are you talking about the red zone guy?
Red zone
the witching hour, dude.
He's garbage.
That's what I'm saying.
Was that the guy on the red zone?
Yeah.
I wish he would just flip the channel and shut your mouth, man.
What was the other guy's name? Andrew
Siciliano.
Yeah,
I prefer Gary to be on there.
He was awesome.
Yeah, he wasn't awesome, but he was better than Hansen.
He was. I
agree with the
greatest commentator we've ever heard.
The problem with the red zone channel now, especially streaming it, like dadgum, like I already know before it even happens.
That's the problem. He always acts like you're watching it live. Dude,
right.
My ESPN app updated me 15 minutes ago. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's always late, but
it'd be different if it was a few seconds. But he always acts like, oh, let's just go over here, and then, oh my gosh, what timing? No.
Just so happens. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. He's garbage. He's terrible. But luckily, it's on.
Lance loves him.
They've got all that on
Lance
YouTube.
Lance also hates like Joe Buck, Troy Aikman.
How?
He hates.
They're horrible.
Are you kidding?
Tony
How dare you disrespect my boy Troy?
No, Troy's not as bad, but Joe Buck is only there because of his father, not because he has any talent at all.
They're fantastic.
I do like.
I would buy Madden again if they put Joe Buck and Troy Aikman in there.
Oh, that'd be great.
And then throw a little Tony Romo in there.
I mean, you should buy Madden 24 anyway. It's pretty fun.
I've heard it's the worst of ever.
Just wait till next year. They're going to put Tom and Gronk in the booth together, and it's going to be great.
All I can tell you is enjoy Al Michaels while you can see him, because he's not going to be around much longer, and he's one of the best ever. Unfortunately, last year they gave him some garbage games, and what's funny, because he's on Amazon Prime, is he was Thursday. Ripping on the games too. But I think this year there's some better games, and him and Kirk Herbstreit I think will be much better together.
Kirk.
We went like a month without a touchdown.
Yeah, you're right.
Those games were so bad.
And then you have the freaking like the Amazon crew beforehand, and it was just like, dude, this is like I don't even want to watch Thursday Night Football anymore.
Yeah, Tony Gonzalez went over there for some reason. That was a mistake.
Richard Sherman was on there.
Richard Sherman. And then was it Fitzmagic? Was he one of them too?
Yeah.
So.
They just all loved him. They're like, what shirt is Fitzmagic wearing today? And it's like, nobody cares.
Who is your favorite, Lance? Who's your favorite guy to watch cover the game?
Commentator? Probably Ian Eagle.
Okay. I'll tell you somebody that grew on me last year. I thought Greg Olson honestly did a pretty good job last year. I was real mad about, Buck and Aikman leaving, but I honestly thought he did a good job. And I don't know if Tom Brady's going to actually come next year to Fox. He might, but I don't know if he will. Garrett, who's your favorite?
Probably Jim Nance.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he's always good.
What about the Sunday night guys? Nobody likes Collinsworth. Your mom can't stand Collinsworth.
He's not terrible.
No, I can't stand Collinsworth.
Ain't nobody as good as Gus Johnson.
What about Tirico?
Big noon kickoff.
Nobody likes Tirico?
I like Tirico.
I think that
he even does golf. He does everything.
Is there too much? Okay, we got Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night. Is there too much football? And then you got Saturdays. Or too much football, or is it like?
I wish Thursdays would just go back to being a special occasion. Personally,
I agree with you on that one. Yeah, that's the only one. Like Thanksgiving,
I like Saturday OU, Sunday, and then a good old.
The Thursday night game is just a little golly, but I do think they're going to have better games this year.
I don't think they can be worse.
We'll see.
Bring back Booger. We need Booger
Who?
McFarland. Booger McFarland?
No.
You mean when he was on that little
no
moving around talking?
Oh yeah.
That's hilarious.
He I think Joe Burrow's going to throw Jamar Chase the ball a couple times this game. You don't say.
I'm actually a big fan of the Nickelodeon commentators for the Nick game.
That's terrible.
That's your take for this week.
Baker was the MVP of that game.
Be real.
That's your take.
No, you want to hear my take for this week? No.
I was doing Be Real. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't have to Be Real anymore.
Dude, come on.
You didn't follow me back, so I decided to delete the app.
Did you follow me?
Yeah, of course.
I didn't know
that. My take this week is that Dak Prescott will finish top 5 in MVP voting.
Like,
I hope you're right.
MVP, like the Nickelodeon one.
I hope you're right.
He might get a Kid's Choice Award.
Kellen caught me right there.
Let's see. Who else? What else? Anybody else got a hot take?
Cowboys don't finish above 500.
Lance, don't say that to me.
Is that hot?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's more like realistic.
Is OU? We already talked about it, but is OU going to cover this week?
Yeah.
No.
I think it's going to be. I take the end.
I don't think they're going to cover just because I think the second, third strings are going to come in quick.
No, it's going to be like 48-17.
It's going to be hot.
48-17.
I'm going to wear that big old.
That would not cover.
So that's good.
Big old caps. What I'm planning on doing. Well, we appreciate Lance and Diego being on, the two insiders from the Patriots and the Cowboys. It's been fun once again. We'll have to do this again, hopefully next week. We'll have a couple more podcasts coming out. So this is 88, and we'll have 89, 90 at some point next week. What are y'all laughing at? So it's always been fun. Remember, Gannon's over in London. He's possibly going to a Premier League game tomorrow night, so it'll be pretty cool. So please remember that iron sharpens iron.
Please stay safe.
Be savage and not average.
And remember to join the skulk.
Until next time.
Good. Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Boomer.
Boomer.
Sooner.